Hello, class. So far, we have looked at a play and some poems to address our conversation of does America still provide access to the American dream? So today we're going to look at some articles. We'll see how they tie in to our paper talking about access to the American dream. So the first article is in your Springboard book, and of course there's a connection, there's a link to it on your Google Classroom page so that you can find it. The article is titled, "Is the American Dream Still Possible?" by David Walachinsky, and it's from Parade, which is a magazine, October 2014. And like with all of your Springboard book works, it will read the article to you if you'd like to go back and read it. So we want to think about, as we're annotating, does this author believe that there is still access to the American dream, or does he not? Is he challenging or supporting the idea? And then find the evidence that he provides to support his argument. Okay? So we're going to highlight some evidence as we go, which will give us something to think about as we're filling out our chart. To be middle class in America once meant living well and having financial security, but today that comfortable and contented lifestyle is harder to achieve and maintain. Parade commissioned Mark Clements Research, Inc. to survey Americans nationwide about their finances and outlook for the future. Contributing editor David Walachinsky, author of the recent articles on Where Your Tax Dollars Go and on pork barrel spending, interprets the results. Pork barrel spending, if you haven't studied it yet in like government or history, is when a law gets passed and people add on extra things to that law to use the funds for things that are not really directly connected. So it's excessive spending, it's spending that's not connected really to the law that's being passed, but people make it be added to the law before they'll vote for it to get passed to like benefit their constituents. The traditional American dream is based on the belief that hardworking citizens can better their lives, pay their bills without worry, give their children a start to an even better life, and still save enough to live comfortably after they retire. But many average Americans are struggling, squeezed by rising costs, declining wages, credit card debt, and diminished benefits, with little left over to save for retirement. See the following statistics. Does the dream survive? Do most Americans still believe they can forge better lives for themselves? Parade surveyed more than 2,200 Americans. Okay, so first of all, this is a survey. We want to know how many people were asked, 2,200, which is a small sample size, but maybe reasonable, of whom fully 84% describe themselves as belonging to the middle class, regardless of where they live. Living costs are higher in some regions or the size of their household. All right, so buying a house in Seattle, Washington is very much different from buying a house in Georgia. So being middle class is not necessarily earning the same amount of money. But for this survey, 84% of these people believe that they are middle class. For this report, we focused on U.S. households earning between $30,000 and $99,000 a year. Most of those surveyed describe themselves as married and having a family. More than 64% say they are employed full-time or part-time. Most say they are in reasonably good health and have a satisfying religious or spiritual life. They own a home and at least 2 cars and are able to take vacations. By international standards, they live a life of prosperity. Okay, but of course we're talking about American standards here, right? So they're saying a little more than half of these people are full-time or part-time, feel like they're in good health and happy spiritually, and they have like that basic American dream outline. Yet behind this prosperity is a growing unease. Half of the employed respondents say that they've experienced either increased health care costs or a cut in health benefits over the last 3 years, and 39% have had cuts in their overtime, raises, or bonuses. Almost 2/3 say they live from paycheck to paycheck, and 47% say no matter how hard they work, they cannot get ahead. More than a third worry about job loss. So if you're looking for statistics about work benefits and job security, this paragraph would provide that for you for your paper. Richard Oden of Conyers, Georgia, married with 5 children, worked in the beer industry for 23 years. Last year, he developed pneumonia and required major surgery. When he was unable to return to work by a given date, he says, his company terminated him at age 54, even though he had a perfect attendance record and no performance problems. To help support his family, Oden had to dip into his 401k fund, paying a penalty for premature withdrawal. This was very stressful, he said. Everything had gone up except wages. So 401k is your savings for retirement, and you can pay money into it all while you're working, and it will collect interest and increase. But if you try to take it out, if you try to take the money out before you retire, you have to pay a penalty. So it's usually not a good idea to do that, but Oden was forced to do that. Oden has since started his own business, a leadership and personal development consulting firm. His wife, Josette, works as a representative in the healthcare field. I do believe I will recover financially, Oden says, and that I will realize a decent retirement. But the traditional American dream, for most Americans, it's still a dream, a pipe dream. That means something that's never going to happen. Having drawing on his own retirement fund, Oden knows that saving can be a big problem. In the survey, nearly 83% say there is not much left to save after they've paid their bills. So 83% of the people surveyed said that they really don't have any sort of savings account. Statistics from the Commerce Department bear this out. The savings rate for Americans is the lowest it has been in 73 years. Self-reliance and sacrifice. Most of those interviewed display qualities common to American success stories: determination, flexibility, pragmatism, and this is defined for us, a practical approach to thinking about problems, willingness to work hard, and especially self-reliance. So all of these people say they do work hard and they rely on themselves and they are determined, okay? So that is not the problem when we talk about shortfalls. Almost 3/4 of the middle class respondents surveyed say they take responsibility for their own financial destiny and believe they will succeed or fail based on their own efforts. Still, many are downsizing their dreams. Shelley Comer, 43, of Dos Palos, California, is a divorced mother of 3 who takes care of a friend of her oldest child, Michelle. She is going into debt so that Michelle can go to college. Shelley has worked her whole life as a receptionist, janitor, preschool teacher, and activities director at a hospital. Recently, she became a registered nurse and now works the night shift in obstetrics at another hospital. Her annual income is $70,377. Michelle, 19, is a freshman at the University of California at Merced. She says she is concerned about the financial burden her education is placing on her family. In order to meet our expected family contribution, my mother had to borrow the entire amount of her share. For her part, Michelle earned 6 small scholarships, 2 of which are renewable for next year, and took out a federal loan. She also works 16 hours a week in the financial aid office at the university. So Michelle, to cover 1 year of school, her family had to borrow all of their contribution, and she works a part-time job, and she took out a loan. So the parents took out a loan, the student took out a loan, and she works. Shelley has a retirement plan through the hospital. But I have nothing saved for me, she says. I'm putting it all into the kids so that they can succeed in school. Our parents did everything for us, and I hope to do the same for my kids. I don't count on anyone else to help us get where we want to go. It's all up to me and my family, and I trust in God to help us. Who is responsible? One of the most intriguing results of the Parade survey is that 89% of the middle class believes that businesses have a social responsibility to their employees and to the community. Yet 81% believe that, in fact, American businesses make decisions based on what is best for their shareholders and investors, not what is best for their employees. Randy Omark, 55, and Sherry Morris, 58, of Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, husband and wife, are former flight attendants for TWA. Sherry took a buyout in the late 1990s before American Airlines bought TWA in 2001. After the acquisition, Randy was put on furlough, as were about 4,000 other former TWA flight attendants, and never rehired. Furlough is defined for us. A period of time when an employee is told not to come back to work and is not paid. So basically, they still list you as being an employee, but you aren't working and you're not getting paid, and it can go on indefinitely. After 26 years with the two airlines, his pension was frozen and then taken over by the government. Now he gets $324 a month in payments, which is very low. Today, despite having a college education, Randy works for $9 an hour finding community jobs for mentally challenged adults. Sherry works for a greeting card company for $7.25 an hour. It used to be that if you stayed with your job, you would be rewarded, says Sherry. Now there's no guarantee. As for retirement, Randy says, eventually we will just downsize everything, sell our house, and move into a smaller one. Is the dream changing? Simone Laveo, 46, and Miguel Gutierrez, 44, ran a garage door installation and repair business in Albuquerque, New Mexico. While the business grossed $453,000 last year, they took home just $50,000 net to live on. They have a daughter, Marilyn, age 7, who is deaf in one ear and goes to a private school that costs $3,600 a year. Simone says that financial stress is part of their lives. It comes from the maybe, could be, should be nature of our business. When the economy is down, people don't buy a new garage door system. The cost of gas at the pump is a major factor, she adds. When the price of gasoline goes down, business goes up. Have they prepared for retirement? Simone laughs, then replies, the word retirement or vacation are not in our vocabulary. You know that old Tennessee Ernie Ford song, I Owe My Soul to the Company Store? We don't think about retirement. They'll have to take me out of here with my high-top tinnies on. The American dream is a bygone thing, she adds. It's not the way of life anymore. I used to believe I was responsible for my own destiny, but it's not that simple. Now it's faith and fortitude. Fortitude is mental strength and courage. What can you do? In this and every election year, many politicians rev up emotions that keep voters from focusing on the pocketbook and daily life decisions that truly matter. You know what really touches your family and life: the cost of milk, gas, and prescription drugs, the quality of schools, the hope that the government will step in fully prepared to keep you safe and secure if disaster hits your neighborhood. Don't leave decision-making and priority setting to zealots who have an axe to grind, or to the blindly ambitious people who emerge in every generation. For more than 200 years, our system of government has encouraged power to the people. Be an active citizen. And zealots is defined for us, people who are fanatical in pursuing religious, political, or other ideals. So, as you can have probably figured out, this author asserts that the American dream, as we've defined it, the traditional American dream, is not accessible, and provides several statistics and arguments that, in his opinion, show that it's not accessible. So when you're working on your chart, you can put him in the challenge column and choose, your best quotation after you do your summary. And then keep this article in the back of your mind if you choose to write a challenge paper, so you can come back and pull quotations from it, since there's several statistics. So that is the American Dream still possible?